He's unreliable.
Late for his own party.
It's time.
And you're live.
We're live. Hello,
Oh.
all. Hopefully everybody's having a good week.
Hopefully there's somebody out there.
Yeah, is there anyone out there? Hello, hello, hello. There's no one.
One from each of you.
What's that?
Got one for each of you.
Oh, well, that's us.
It's probably yourself, yeah.
Well, that's terrible. Anyway, are you doing anything in your shop yet, Roger, or are you still planting plants?
Oh, we got the hot tub enclosure all done. So.
Oh yeah, you were doing a hot tub thing.
Yeah, we got that all done. In fact, I did a video on it. Posted the video of it. just because I've been making these things this week. I got an order for quite a few of those for a shop here.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, 20-ounce tumbler. And that's easy money there. I don't have to deal with people or anything. They wanted 24 of them. I made 24 of them, took them over there and dropped them off.
There must have been a delay in starting tonight.
Oh, got somebody from Spain there.
People are filing in. Spain. Oh, yes. Fancy tool. Fancy looks. Oh, not fancy tools. Oops. Sorry. Welcome. If you have topics you'd like discussed, we can discuss them. Just put them in the chat. I spent, well, some of this week. This week was kind of chaos for me because my wife went to a conference last week and came home with COVID. So.
Oh, that sucks.
Yes. So she's day 6 into it and I'm still testing negative. So I'm crossing my fingers that I have some kind of superhuman immunity because I've never had COVID. So. Oh, Belgium. Wow. It's getting, we're going to have to hold these a little earlier so the Europeans don't have to stay up late. That's a new name. Stephen, is this your first trip here? Joe in Georgia.
I was going to say,
I assume that's Georgia, the state, not the country.
Yeah, one of my markets, one of the vendors used to sell a lot of those tumblers that you had.
Mm-hmm.
They asked me to make like a shelving unit, which was basically just a couple rows of 2.5-inch holes in it. So it's basically a bunch of cup holders because they put it on these little shelves and somebody would bump the table and then the whole thing would just go tipping over. And so I made like
bowling pins.
Yeah, so I made like a tiered shelving rack with holes cut through the surface so they could set them in like a cup holder and just to hold them a little more so they weren't so tippy canoe.
I built 2 of those for my granddaughter. She does craft shows and she does a lot of tumblers, and I do mean a lot of them. And I mean it's good that the wind won't blow it over.
Yeah,
you know, you're outdoors and the wind blows, and one goes and it's like dominoes, and they all go.
Yep.
I would say that's another reason why I don't make production runs of things. I don't have time for cleanup. I started doing the video for my conveyor work that I've been doing with the F1 Ultra. I've actually started to use it for not things like, endless streams of tumblers or business cards or stuff, but to make my own business cards and give away things that I have. And it's actually saved me a lot of time. I can whip off a dozen business cards in the time it took me to set up 4 in a jig in my previous setup. So it's definitely a time saver. And I'll have, hopefully, that I was hoping to have that video done today, but I got lazy and sat out on the deck and enjoyed the sun. So Dave from Wisconsin.
Oh, it's wet up there too. That's where all of our water's coming from.
He's practically Canadian. Westerville. Hey, Jack. Welcome back. Kansas. Wow, we got people from everywhere. Yes, and Fancy Looks it's 1:30. Wow. It kind of makes you my hero. I've never stayed up past like 10 o'clock at night. Every Wednesday is like I'm going out on a limb because it's 10:30 by the time we quit for me. All right. Any questions? Oh, the other thing I've been working on is I've been wondering about the deep engraving on the F1 Ultra for coins, for challenge coins. And it looks really nice on video, but when you actually feel it in real life, it's not the same. So just for fun, I did an engrave today on the Com Marker 20-watt laser, and it's radically different. So I got to talk to the X-Tool guys and see if there's something not right, because I can actually get seriously deep engraving on the Com Marker, even though it's only 20 watt. So I don't know. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with X-Tool as a whole, but I'm certainly struggling with theirs because I took the exact same settings, given that they're both 20 watt fiber lasers. And one is awesome and one is less awesome, we'll say.
Is that the sort of thing you could toss into a tumbler afterwards?
Sorry?
Is that the sort of thing that you can toss into a tumbler, like a rock tumbler, to polish it?
Yeah. Or I don't know if you watch Justin Laser. He's a good guy. He did a thing recently with coins, and he bought himself a jeweler's tumbler. It's basically you throw a bunch of pins in a bucket of water and swirl it around.
Yeah.
And throw your coins in. It looks kind of neat. I might actually buy one of those.
I've seen the ones that they use little plastic pellets and then stick it cerium oxide.
Yeah.
And it polishes real well.
Yeah, you can get a rock tumbler and use like walnut shells, like sandblasting walnut shells. That'll clean up the crud off of something like a coin.
I've got lots of those. I got a couple buckets of them. We'll use them in the sandblaster when we're cleaning up something like copper or brass. Take paint off.
Yeah, or just take a handful of sand, like silica sand, and throw it in there. Oh, light burn question. Over scanning. Why use it? Well, that's an interesting one. The easiest way to explain it is turn it off and try and engrave a photo. And you'll see the edges get all ragged. And what it does is ensures that the laser is powered all the way to the edge of something like an image. And that means that it takes time to slow down. So overscanning allows it to basically kind of float out beyond the edge of the image and slow down before it has to change direction. It's kind of important. It's a big deal.
Even on a graphic that's not an image, where you have a lot of fine lines and they're going out to the edge, if you don't have overscanning on, you'll have broken edges.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't need a lot. If you're, for typical images on a diode laser, set it to about 2.5%. And I think that's the default anyway when you turn it on, and that's usually enough. But if you're going a little faster, you might want to crank it up a bit to maybe 3% or 3.5%. Keep in mind that the more overscan you have, the slower your overall job is going to be, because that's just more time for it to scan on a horizontal line. That one has bitten me more than once, actually. A couple of times I've looked at lasers and went, why is the edges of my image all screwed up? And it was just an overscan problem. I'm still fighting with well, not fighting, but I'm still waiting, I'd say, for ComMarker to respond to my ComMarker B6. B6 is their new laser. I don't think it's even available in any kind of prototypes yet, other than the one I have. So that one had would have mounted to a direct short in it. So I've been waiting for them to send me a new part. They've been pretty good about it, but it just kills me that I've got this 60-watt fiber laser sitting in the corner and it's not being used for anything. Simple thing. You'll ramp up quick.
Yeah.
There's lots of videos. Roger's got lots. I have lots. You can come up to speed pretty quick. And you can ask questions if you don't. Leave a comment in a video and I'll respond for sure. Easton, Pennsylvania. Is that where they make baseball bats? It is, isn't it? Isn't that where Easton, the baseball equipment company is?
I mean, I don't know, but
oh, come on! I thought everybody knew this.
I'm not a baseball person. I really suck at baseball.
I'm not anymore. I used to play, but that was back in my days of youth when I woke up in the morning and nothing hurt. Now I wake up every morning to a new pain. The good news is it makes me forget about the pain I had yesterday. Oh, it's quiet on the chat tonight.
Yeah. I could take this, everybody right off topic here. Something I've been working on this week is making a new flag for our pontoon boat. So here's my this is a little prototype right here. So we got to call it the Jolly Roger. And I got to make my full size 11 by 17 flag, but
you're gonna have meat and some candy and call him the Jolly Rancher.
Yeah. No, I've been toying around. I wanted to get some polyester that was thick enough. For anybody that does sublimation, I wanted something that wouldn't bleed through. And of course, as thick as this polyester is, it still bleeds through. So I'll have to do it double layered. Then sew it together. But for kind of an example, the garden flag, get that up there. So there's the front, but this is a real thin polyester. So you can literally just see right through it.
That's two-sided.
And this is just single, cheap. Buy a huge pack of them on Amazon and see how many of them are sewn crooked. But
I'm guessing it's more than 0%, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for the good ones, I sew them myself.
The only thing I know how to sew is a button. What else did I do this week? Man, it's been just a crazy week. Well, I finally got my I was actually working on a short. I got my rapid change tool changer working on my CNC now. I've exchanged many emails and many conversations with the rapid change guys, and we finally have something that works really well on a Onefinity Elite. And I'll put a short up probably in the next day or so, just to kind of show it changing tools. It's kind of cool. It doesn't use compressed air to hold the tools in or anything. It just cranks them in there, and it's a little terrifying the first time you hear it, because you got a spindle turning at 2,000 RPM and then it shoves it into the collet and tightens it up, and it grinds a little bit, and it's like, yeah, it's all cool, it all works.
Friction bit.
Yeah, but he built me a new post processor so that it gives me time to put my dust boot on and off in between tool changes. So it's all cool now. Hey, Steven. Oh, We'll get back to Chad in a second.
Quick draw.
Hey, Steven. Do you know if the Acmer P2 L2 camera... Were you asking me this question, or is this another person who's having trouble with light burn cameras lately?
Like I say, I am one. I just don't use them. Other than that, the only camera I use is on my Weaker 8. That's because it works. Otherwise, I don't use cameras on my lasers.
Well, the challenge here was the camera, like in this case, I guess it wasn't Chad, it was somebody else, because it wasn't a light burn. It wasn't a Acmer P2, I don't think. The setup goes fine in light burn, but the next time you start light burn, you got to recalibrate the camera again, like literally make the four corners and the centerpiece and do the calibration, and
then hope you don't bump the laser and move the little rod holding the camera up.
Well, yeah, that's I think inconsequential, because it's just you have to recalibrate every time, and I'm not sure what's going on there, because it's not like there's a calibration and then hit a save button in Lightburn. It just kind of does it, and it's just weird. So it's even more weird now because there's somebody else having the same problem. The answer to this question is no, you shouldn't need to recalibrate every time. And I don't know what's going on, whether Lightburn has a bug in it in a recent release. They went to 1601 or 1602 recently. Maybe they introduced a new problem. I'm
still on 15. I didn't upgrade.
Yeah, 16 is, I don't know. I don't know if they fixed more bugs than they created or not.
I have done some videos on doing this.
Yeah, I've done one too.
It could be done, I suppose, on live stream, but it takes a long time.
Yeah, you'd have to have some pre-made tiles, right?
Yeah, I'll see if I still got that one laying here. Well, maybe not. Yes, I do. Like this one here, that's a half an hour engrave. And then, that doesn't count coating the tile and then cleaning it off. And
yeah, it's not an easy process. And if we did it live, Roger's hands would be all white and probably on his cheeks, and
it looks like a Pillsbury Doughboy with titanium oxide everywhere.
Yeah, it's a bit of a messy process. There you go. A flag on neoprene. I've never seen that.
Would be probably, that would have to be a DTF process to do a flag on neoprene.
Don't you have DTF? Isn't that what you...
No, I don't.
Oh.
Rick does. Rick is big into that, but I don't have the space for all the equipment. And I don't really have a market for it.
Has anyone had problems with Lightburn updates? Oh, yeah, lots of them. It depends on the laser you're using. If you're using something like an X-Tool laser where it isn't normally at home on Lightburn, you'll run into different problems. I mentioned, I don't know, a few live streams ago that I tried to do a material test on the X-Tool S1 in Lightburn, and all of the things that were supposed to be squares cut out were triangles. And it's there's a bit of an ugly fix for it until I think they're supposed to fix it in Lightburn 17. So that's like next year time frame. I've just kind of, anytime I have an X-Tool laser now, I just fire up XCS. It just seems to work better. I've kind of become enamored with XCS, actually.
3760. Can't get it to print. Well, there's a whole bunch of things that could cause that. But the first thing you'd want, first I need to know if you're trying to do it over Wi-Fi or if you're trying to do it with a USB cable. If it's with a USB cable and you're not getting any reaction from the printer that it's connected, well, you also need to check your drivers, but bad USB cables are really common. I run into that quite a few times with different things. You want to use a high quality cable, and again, make sure your driver package is installed. If it's a new 3760, well, I don't know if they still come with CD-ROMs or not. Most computers don't even have them anymore. But you can go to EPS's website, you download the package for it, install it. That'll find your printer, or it should find it. And if it's still finding it, but yet you can't print, then, well, there's a lot of things it can be.
This would be the point where I say just get a Mac. You don't have to worry about drivers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen lots of weird USB problems in particular. If the printer sounds like it's printing, but it's just not outputting anything, it could be blocked heads, especially if you're using ink for transfers.
Yeah, sublimation ink. Sublimation ink can, if it's not a good high quality brand, it will clog those tanks up and clog lines. It doesn't clog the head so much. It tends to form sediment and it clogs the bottom of the tank.
Yeah. The issue is that can't get it to print is a pretty broad topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Start with, is it plugged in?
Yeah.
Is it turned on? Be the tech support guy. So it's an Artur Laser Master 2 Pro. Man, these things have an endless life. I'm still like, Artur hasn't made a new laser in about 3 years. These things are still hanging on. There's lots of them out there.
I still sell quite a few riser sets for those.
Yeah, well, they must have sold 1 million of them.
Yeah. And I had one for quite a while. I mean, it's a good laser.
Yeah, you can do white tile on a CO2 laser. You don't have to resort to tricks, but you won't get, if you just take a CO2 to white tile, you won't get a black engraving. You'll get, just a darker shade of white probably.
Yeah, or whatever the material is under the glazing. You won't see much.
Yeah, if you use settings for clay tile.
If you get the settings for the diode laser, you have to run the Nicky Norton white tile test. Google that and you'll find that file all over the place.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah, you can back things up before you upgrade as well, and that's probably what Rich will tell you. You can't recover settings unless you back them up. Although it probably is burying these settings somewhere in a registry or something in Windows, so you can recover them. But you shouldn't have to. It should work. Like I said, this is the second time I've heard somebody say that Lightburn's camera settings are losing their mind in between sessions.
Okay, if it won't print black, is it just not printing at all, or is it just giving a blank sheet?
Yeah, I had to clean. I have one of these Epson printers too, and I had to clean the heads on it about 12 times in a row just before I could finally get a few little dim pixels squirting out of the jets. And
well, I did a video quite a while back on using PDF files or just printing solid colors and using the actual hex code for it. And sometimes you have to print quite a few. Let's say you're not printing black, but you're printing all your colors. Just keep running this sheet until you start saying black. Then keep running it until it's clear.
Yeah, we don't mind mentioning other channels. It's not it's not like we're all competitors and we're looking for market share. You can watch 2 channels at once. It's okay.
Yeah, Rich is a good guy. He's got
I like Rich.
Good content there.
On your phone. I've never tried to use my phone for any device control of any sort, really. It just seems like the wrong format.
I don't even like using my phone to monitor security cameras, although I can do it. But
technically, I don't like using my phone as a phone.
Again, getting back to your not printing black. You could have a clogged line. That's a style. It's an EchoTank printer, so it could be that the line is plugged or that the line is pinched. Right. It's usually more in between the line and the internal damper tank than it is the head itself. Most of the problems that I've found on the EchoTank printers are not the head.
Blank sheet. Okay, I have to keep going back in the conversation to find out how this context fits.
Now the other, well, of course you would have to open your printer to look, but inside that top of your printer, and don't break it if you open it. A lot of people break them. There are 4 damper tanks, and each one for each color. You want to make sure that your damper tank has ink in it, because if there isn't, then that line between the black tank and the damper tank is clogged.
And good luck at that point.
Yeah, then get out the latex gloves and lots of paper towels and get you a little bitty syringe and
lots of alcohol to get it cleaned up. Thanks, Stephen. You're a saint. Yeah, that sublimation ink is I don't know, it seems a bit gluey compared to regular ink. Like I had it in my Epson printer for a while, and I think I'm still trying to get it out of there after 6 months or more. It just seems to stick around forever.
One thing you'd have to make, even if it's not a sublimation printer, if it's any inkjet printer, you should print something with it at least once a week. If you just let it sit around, you're going to have problems. The ink will dry up.
Yeah, that's the problem. Pretty much everything I do is digital now, and every once in a while I have to print a receipt for something, and it just drives me crazy because every time I do, I have to spend a half an hour cleaning the printer heads. Well, then you haven't lived. So what else is going on, guys? What'd you do this week, Conrad? Anything exciting?
No, I got another big shipment of not shipment, of birch from my birch hookup. So I had to clean out a quarter of my garage in order to stick all the new stock I got in there. So I'm full on free birch.
Well, that's not a bad problem to have.
That is not a bad problem to have.
Birch works really well on a CNC. You got to get yourself a CNC, or do you have one? You don't have one, right?
Nah. I'm still with the electric tools, with the analog tools.
Well, CNC's electric. Just because you don't have to put your hand on it and push it doesn't mean it's.
Yeah. So so I'm planning on some box work and stuff. I don't have a good way of resawing it. I've got a little bandsaw and it's a piece of crap. So I was thinking my next option is I tried doing a little hand saw, the Japanese pull saw, and working on my cardio. And homie ain't got time for that. Nor does my rotator cuff.
You have to keep yourself hooked to a heart monitor while you cut your wood.
Yeah.
How wide are the pieces?
It's all 4/4.
You have a table saw?
I do. Oh, yeah, I do. And I've cut them down, the narrower pieces with a table saw. I've done that a few times, and I'm cool with that. But a lot of my pieces are wider than that, or my need for them is wider than the dimensions. I can only get almost 6 inches off my table saw.
Yeah.
If I do a pass and flip it. So what I was thinking about doing was just milling them square and then just turning them into 1/2 inch or 5/8 strips, and then just gluing it up like it's a big cutting board, and then just make planks that way.
That just seems like a terrible way to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Rebuild something that was the way it was when you started.
Yeah, just take it this way and then push it to the side. So yeah, it's that, or I just save up and get a good bandsaw and be done with the problem.
Yeah, I don't have a bandsaw either, and there's many times when I wish I did. I think I'm gonna wait for somebody to put one on some kind of bargain basement sale, and I'm gonna buy one. I'd like to get like a 14-inch or something, just to make sure it does everything I'd ever want to do. Is there a checking? Not that I'm aware of.
If it was me, I would scan it on a scanner.
Yeah.
That's the way I do it. Then otherwise your dimensions could get wonky. Anytime you're using a camera to reproduce, unless you can absolutely make sure it's going to be 1-to-1, your dimensions are going to be off.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's a way to do this anyway, because that camera is really tied to light burn. You wouldn't be able to do this way. But yeah, you're better to scan it, or even if you take a picture of it with your phone and then load it into something. And if you have some, like anything you take a picture of, stick a ruler beside it when you take the photo, and then scale your image so that the ruler is the right dimensions, and then you'll have everything sorted out, as long as your camera isn't screwed up in some way. But most cell phone cameras are pretty good. So, but yeah, first of all, the cameras that are inside lasers are generally pretty terrible. They're good enough to kind of see a workspace. They tend to be fish eyes, and that means they're distorted all over the place. So, which is one of the reasons you have such an intricate calibration process in Lightburn. I'd say just say no. Just don't do it.
There's a better way to that.
Yeah. Yeah, scanner, some kind of scanner is the best. As long as you're not trying to take a picture of, well, if it's the size of like the workspace, like if it's close to 400 by 400 millimeters, you're not going to find a scanner that'll scan it anyway, probably. But
the biggest I can go is 11 by 17. Yeah, and that's on we have a big printer that has a big scanner on it.
Yeah, I think my scanner will only do standard 8.5 by 11. I don't even think it'll do A4. That's my obvious question here would be, what are you trying to scan? Well, scroll saw stuff. That kind of thing, you can just take if it's like line art, just take a photo of it and put it into something like Inkscape or Adobe, and you can translate it into a vector diagram pretty easily. You can also do it in Lightburn, actually. You can just turn a bitmap image into a vector image.
Yeah, and for those that are just got confused about how to do that, you bring your image into Lightburn, right-click on it, and there'll be a little choice of trace image. So you trace your image, and then you can delete the original, and you'll have a SVG, a vector.
Yeah, works exactly the same in Inkscape. There's a trace image option, path trace image.
Yep.
I don't know how to do it in Adobe Illustrator, but you can do it there for sure.
Okay, any more questions out there? We're here to chat about it.
We can chat about Rick again and why he's delinquent.
Yeah.
Yeah, his email said he was actually. He didn't say that he wasn't going to be here.
Rick or Daniel?
Rick. Daniels was considering showing up yesterday on one of his live streams.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get tied up in a project.
Yeah, he did say he's starting a new house build, or house move.
Well, with the weather that's headed up around Chicago right now, they're getting today what we had last night. He may have his hands full being a lineman.
Storms.
Oh yeah, that was just wicked last night.
That's not my cup of tea, that's for sure. It's been real quiet in the laser business too lately. Other than the F1 Ultra, there hasn't been a whole lot going on. I'm still waiting for the Acmer P3. That should be probably next week, unless they've found a problem that delayed them. But otherwise, the industry is pretty quiet.
Do you have a rep you work with X-Tool?
Yeah.
Her name isn't Heidi, is it, by any chance?
No, it's Lily.
No. Her name, honest to God, her name is Heidi Ho. Heidi, and her last name is spelled H-O.
Have you explained the North American innuendo there?
No, I have. I did. I've got a few chuckles out of it when I first saw it. I thought, is this real? But yeah, that's a rep I work with. She's wanting me to do another video on the S1 geared towards the beginner, but not show any other lasers in the same video.
Yeah, they tend not to like showing other lasers, and no laser company does. It's like they don't want to know there's anything else out there.
Well, I did one here recently on that sign I showed last week, and I did it on the S1 and I did it on the We Create, just back to back, and I showed them both. And the difference, my main point of doing that was to show the difference between a 20 watt and a 40 watt, and the fineness of the, or I should say the intricity. I'll make words up if I have to here. how intricate the 20 watt can cut over a 40 watt because of the beam size. That was my main focus on comparing those two lasers. It wasn't like this one's better than the other, or I like this one better. But of course, by the same token, that 40 watt cut a whole lot faster.
Yeah, well, that's the only reason to get a 40 watt, right? Yeah. Is speed. I don't know, the S1 40 watt, the beam size is actually pretty decent on it. I was actually shocked that the X-Tool P2, it's like a CO2 laser, and the spot size on that thing is like 0.15 millimeters, which is ridiculously small for a CO2 laser. I don't know how they're doing it.
Oh, here, a good place to buy small pieces of wood. You don't got any cabinet shops around? If you have any cabinet shops or furniture shops around, they've always got scraps, and sometimes they'll just give them to you to get them out of there.
Yeah, and if you want things like corian or countertop, like stone, if you want to engrave on granite, talk to the cupboard guys, because they always have big pieces that they cut out of for sinks and stuff.
Would something like flooring work? Old flooring? I mean, it'd be
if it's solid.
Yeah, I just don't know what direction he's going at with pieces to cut, something to cut things out of, or or just engrave into like a block of wood, something with mass.
Well, I tell you what's really fun to work with, if you can get a hold of it, is the lanes from a bowling alley. That's hard like maple. It's all laminated, and you can make some really cool stuff out of that if you can get a hold of some of it.
It's got to be bowling alleys going out of business left, right, and center, right? Richard's getting his P2 tomorrow. Richard, you live in Arizona, don't you? It's like, so the one complaint I've heard from people who live in the Southland is the P2 it doesn't have external cooling, so it's an enclosed cooling system. And in the summertime, in hot places, it can basically shut down because it's too hot. I was talking to somebody about this, and my logical solution is to just cut the circulation line and put like a 5200 chiller in line. There's a 55 watt laser with just like small internal cooling is probably a bit limited, we'll say. Otherwise, turn your air conditioner on in your shop if you have it. And I don't know anybody who lives in Arizona who doesn't have air conditioning. So,
well, for me here with the temperatures the way they've been the last few weeks, when I have to run these 3D printers, I have to run the air conditioning up here because it's just too hot. I get elephant's foot, and I get all kinds of problems if I don't keep the temperature below 80.
There's Rick.
Yeah, he can't make it tonight. I weep for us.
Got storm damage you're working with? That's what.
Yeah.
My thought is.
Yeah. Okay. If you're in the air conditioning, you're probably fine. But I have heard people who live in places like Arizona who have their laser in their garage, and in the summertime it just gets too hot to run it. Yeah, cabinet shops have, especially for people who make laser types of projects where the wood tends to be smaller, cabinet shops have all kinds of wood that's ideal. And they'll either say, go check our scrap bin, or go check the dumpster in the back, because they throw out a lot of stuff that's perfect for the kinds of work we do. I don't know what suggestion HVAC was trying to respond to.
Oh, the cabinet shops and.
Oh yes, right.
Furniture makers. Sawmills, if you have any sawmills around that deal with hardwoods and fine woods, and they usually have cutoffs and that. They'll have a big bundle you can get for cheap.
106, but it's a dry heat.
Yeah.
Just like
that doesn't count at all.
Just like a blowtorch, it's a dry heat too.
106 was our heat index yesterday.
We had one day last week here where it was in the 90s, and where I live, especially in June, that's pretty hot. Like when it's beyond 80, there's bodies in the street here. Like it's just like all the old people go to the mall, right? Because it's cool. But yeah, we had a couple of days where it was pretty hot. Last Thursday, actually, it was like over 90, which is very hot for June. Of course, we set a record, but 106, yeah, that would kill people here for sure. The problem we're having now, because whether you believe in climate change or not, the ocean offshore here is getting warmer. So we've got a lot of sightings of great white sharks and man-o-war jellyfish are starting to show up. Both of them like fairly warm water. So that's just one more reason not to go swimming in the ocean. I guess Richard doesn't have that problem living in Arizona, though.
Water? What's water?
Yeah, Florida, isn't the water there, like the ocean water is like 90 degrees now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a warm sauna out there now.
Yeah, there we go. Akron, Ohio. That's in the storm region.
That's what we had yesterday.
We had a rainstorm yesterday, and I got this lawnmower, this automated lawnmower that I'm working on. It apparently has a rain sensor in it, and it was out cutting my grass when it started to rain, and I got a message on my phone that said it was coming in because it was raining. So it actually works, which is kind of cool. I had a real world test as opposed to spraying some water on it from the hose. And it was kind of cool. It came in and parked in its little garage and sat there for a while, and then it went back out and finished the lawn. It's just there's too much technology in this thing. It's terrifying. I'm waiting for the robots to take over. Yeah, Rick must be climbing a power pole right now or something. There you go, another guy from Florida, Conrad.
Yeah. Oh, I think
Junk Journal Shop.
I think it's she over in like the land.
Oh yes, yeah.
The land Daytona area.
I like the WeCreate. I like both the 20 and the 40 watt WeCreate. I still have the WeCreate conveyor sitting on the floor in my shop I have to get to, but summer's here, it's so everything slows down. But yeah, these WeCreate guys, the first laser I got, the 20 watt one, was very early run, and there were a couple of, I'd say, dubious manufacturing things in it, but they said they fixed them all up for production. But the 40 watt is just, which I assume the 20 watt looks like now, because they're really, the only difference is the power. The 40 watt laser, I compare them side by side, and it's so much better quality than the 20 watt that I had. And it wasn't terrible compared to some of the standard run of the mill open frame lasers that are still out there.
Well, I'm still getting offers to demonstrate these never heard of brands that, when you look at a picture, it's like just a complete knockoff of an Acme or that sort.
Well, yeah, it probably is, right?
Yeah.
I gently tell companies now that I don't really have much interest in open frame lasers. They're just too dangerous, right? Especially once you get over 10 watts. The thing is basically a lightsaber flying around your shop, right? So I talked to somebody today, and I said, he's got a 10 watt, and I said, you're wearing your glasses when you're doing this, right? Well, I have a pair, and it's like, no, you're wearing your glasses. Like, these things are actually pretty dangerous, especially in the open frame. And I just don't want to even get involved in those anymore. Sculpt Fun reached out to me and said, hey, we got this new laser. It looks just like their old laser. But that in itself is just irrelevant. It's the fact that it's just an open frame, and I just don't have time for them. And my advice to anyone who's listening on the stream and is looking for a laser is don't buy an open frame laser. They're cheaper, but yeah, it's a weapon.
100. Well, I'm 67, and I actually like the heat, but I can't tolerate the cold. So
yeah, I hate winter too, which is one of the reasons I moved to the East Coast, because the weather is much more temperate.
Well, once it's below 32, I am inside or in Mexico. I don't do cold.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I have no desire to go out and build a snowman in the wintertime. So yeah, 100, no AC in the garage. Yeah, that's just stop doing any kind of workshop work if that's where your workshop is until September or October.
Yeah, that's what mine is.
Yeah,
2 to 3 hours in the morning and 2 or 3 in the evening.
Yeah, start at 5 in the morning and work till 9, eat breakfast, and then sit out in your lanai, because everybody in Florida has a lanai, right?
Yeah, have a siesta.
And have a nap and drink a beer. Oh yes, I apologize. But yep, Deland. Is that how you say it? Deland?
Yeah.
Not Deland?
No, it's a D.
You're using Air Assist? That'd be my first question.
The other thing you can do, well, you got a honeycomb, but lift the cut up off even the honeycomb a bit. Doesn't have to be much. Like stick a magnet underneath the corners.
Another thing would be if that honeycomb lays flat and doesn't have any place for the air and smoke to get out, you may get that too, because you'll get every once in a while you hear a pop. That's where the smoke ignites. It's underneath the honeycomb because it can't escape. So try elevating your honeycomb board up. I mean, just a couple business cards thick on the four corners and give it some breathing room under there.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, just space, a little bit of space. Yeah, getting thin hardwood like this, the easiest place to get it is make your own. Veneer you can use contact cement, or you can just use white glue and clamp things down. I tend to use white glue, but I know people will use contact cement as well, or 3M spray-on adhesive.
Or if you use hide glue, then if you screw up, you can just heat it up and the glue will come off.
Yeah, although it's veneer, so it's probably not coming off in one piece regardless. It might, if you're lucky. 90. Sun comes up, it's 90. So when it's 90 where I live, Stephen, we call it August. Not morning. Hawaii, awesome.
Oh, yeah. Early afternoon there.
Yeah, we don't have to get earlier for him. How's it going in Hawaii, Clayton? Oahu. I've been to Oahu. I went to Maui, of course. I was very upset last winter when Lahaina burned down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we used to go to the Pioneer for breakfast every morning when we were there. Right across the street from the banyan tree. It was a nice place.
Now, again, raise your honeycomb board up just a little bit to let that smoke out from underneath, because I've had that happen before, especially if you're hearing a pop. Yeah. That's smoke igniting, and you'll have a black mark on the back of your project.
Yeah, and if that doesn't cure it, lift up the material off the honeycomb just a bit too. What is a foot pick?
That's just what I was going to say. What's a foot pick? I could think of some really gross things a foot pick could be, but
if you're making 1,500 of them, it sounds like you've cornered the market.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody likes the sand. At least I don't. And we do several hundred candy boards a year, and every one of them has to be sanded. And of course, then I have to be painted, and I hate painting more than I hate sanding. So I don't mind building.
If they're solid wood, you can use a drum sander. Born and raised. I can tell by the name you're Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Kumuhoni? Is that how you say it? Yeah, nicest thing about Hawaii is it's out in the middle of nowhere, away from all the crazies on the planet. It's just when you feel a little stressed, you can go surfing.
Well, my advice is if you're going to look at the laser, put your glasses on. I mean, I've been criticized in some of my videos where the laser's running and I don't have my goggles on, but I've also been made fun of looking like an alien when I have them on. But I'm not looking at the laser either. I'm looking at the camera, not down at the laser. If I'm looking at the laser, the goggles go on. Now, if it's the WeCreate or the S1, I don't wear goggles.
Yeah, anything usually enclosed, although if you're getting straight light escaping, it must be one of those Velcro together enclosures or something. But yeah, the WeCreate and S1, they're sealed pretty tight. So is the Creality Falcon 2 Pro. But if you got stray light floating around, use some duct tape. Handyman secret weapon.
Yeah.
Tape up anywhere where it's leaking out. Food is always good. Oh, we're not talking about food? Oh. It's almost time for Steven to go make some tacos or something.
Yeah, I just got done. I had to paint 20 candy boards this week. We had an early order, and it was hot too. So then and humid, and they have to have 2 coats, and you have to let them completely dry between the coats. So that, yeah, hot and humid, not conductive for paint drying.
Oh, they aren't foot picks. They're food picks.
Oh,
that doesn't help me. I mean, is it just like a thing you take and stab stuff with? And because I thought that's what toothpicks were for.
Well, the food picks I was familiar with would be like for your steak, whether it be rare or medium well, or.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And if somebody wants hers well done, the pick should be black.
Sorry, anytime I come up with some new term I haven't heard of, I have to go look it up. So these things just look like, well, these aren't the. Huh. I see food picks for kids on Amazon. Yeah, these ones are just like toothpicks with little flags, but these presumably have labels on them. Otherwise, you wouldn't need a laser for them.
One of the carts we use in our greenhouse and nursery, it's made in Canada too. We've had it for about 30 years. A couple of them, but one I always use as a rack to paint things on, because it's all galvanized like wire, and it is all kinds of colors from all the different things I've done over the years.
Can you peel the colors off? Like just grab them and peel back some?
No, they're not. It's not that thick. It's just the overspray from it. A bunch of different colors on there, especially around Halloween. There gets to be a lot of orange and black all over it. Yeah,
these spray cans. Anytime I spray now, unless it's wintertime, I'll go outside. If it's not wintertime, I put on a ventilating mask to make sure my lungs don't look like your shoes. Oh, here we go. I got a blurry photo apparently. Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, so they're branded. They are like. Here, let me see if I can post this thing.
Like a marker flag.
Yeah, it's kind of what you'd expect. Let me figure out how to share here again. If I can do it, because I just upgraded my operating system, and every time you do that, security gets tight. There it is. So it's that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are cool. 1,500, huh? That's a lot.
Right on.
I don't like making volume things like that. It just, I do a whole bunch of watch bands for one company every year, and it's good money, and I actually like helping them, but the job itself is just torturous. It's like the same old thing for a day. Rick and Viking. You need to send a message to both of these guys and call them slackers.
Yeah. I kind of have an idea that Rick is dealing with storm damage around the Chicago area.
Yeah, Rick is a line guy, so he's probably hanging off a pole right now, putting wires back together or something, or having people do it for him, I guess, because he's a manager. But and Viking is he's a trade guy, so he's probably in the middle of building a house. We'll see him in the wintertime. Too late, it's already shown.
That when you have a blurry one, nobody can copy it.
Yes. I have to make a, somebody approached me to make a special ruler. They make bags, and I assume handbags. And apparently there's some ruler, and I have to design one. I have all the details, and it's going to be an interesting project. It's like a ruler, but it's got all these crazy dimensions and things on it, and it's going to be intriguing. So I'm interested in getting that started soon. But I only have to make one of those, maybe two. Huh. 4 inch tall, 1 inch wide. Wow, anybody who can be a marketing director for any company in Alaska must be awesome at that job.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
well, contacts, family contacts are the way to go, man. It's a good way to get your business started.
well, there might be cruises or fishing tours or
Yeah, get into the tourist market too if you can.
crawl. I'm sure Alaska drinking is a high priority.
No, he's back from there.
Yeah, he was back last week.
There you go.
Yeah. Call them smoke infusers or something.
You know, a big thing at the bars right now are this smoke infused whiskey. They do it right at the bar. It's pretty it's kind of neat, kind of expensive.
Oh, yeah, cocktail smokers. Yeah, that's one of my bigger craft items. Cocktail smokers.
Yeah.
So you're a pro with this?
Well, I mean, it's whiskey.
Just drink the whiskey.
That too.
Yeah. See, there's a message right there. I lived in Alaska, and now I live in Florida.
I would rather be melting in Florida than freezing in Alaska, though. That's
Let's see if I can't find.
Yeah, well, sometimes you can do this, but the problem here is the reason for sanding it is the fact that it got laser cut. So we got to reduce the smoke. You can try reducing the power a bit too. Like run a material test and just take the power you need to get cut through, because if you go overboard on the power, you'll just get burning in the cut as it goes, and it just makes more smoke. So reduce as much as you can, and then eliminate the rest with adjusting the height of the workspace and the material. Yeah, a pool is definitely a requirement. You must have a pool, right, Conrad?
No.
What?
No.
You live in Florida.
I do, and the insurance is too much to make it worth the trouble. We have pools in the community.
Yeah, well, you don't really need a pool. You need a friend with a pool.
Yeah,
that works.
That's one nice thing about having a hot tub is when the weather gets cold, I can crank the temperature up to 100. Then when it's like hot like this, I turn it down to 85. So you get in and you're not freezing when you get in, but you cool off in a hurry.
Yeah, just send us if you run into more problems, just send a message to, well, Roger or I. Rick shows up once in a while, so you can maybe send one to him, but he doesn't do so much with diode lasers.
Yeah, less heat or more speed, or
Yeah.
or a combination of the two, or even sometimes if you do it 2 passes.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do a video on this because, and this is my gripe with 40 and 60 watt lasers, right? Is yeah, you can cut through a 2x4 in one pass, but the cut is going to be terrible, right? So I've been meaning to do a video to say, well, don't cut at 5 millimeters a minute at 100% power. Cut at 30 or 40% power and go 1,000 millimeters a minute and go 5 passes. It takes about the same amount of time, but you get a much cleaner cut.
That's especially true with bamboo.
Yeah,
if you're
well,
cutting
lots of woods are
bamboo.
like that, actually. Like maple gets pretty charred too, and you try and cut it in one pass. It's
as does cherry.
Yep.
Cherry is real good at scorching. So.
Well, they're only super long nights half the year. The other half the year, it's super long days.
Yeah, never gets dark.
Oh, here's one of those cocktail smokers. If you care, let's see. That's nice.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there.
Yeah, make them out of barrel staves.
So what's your preferred wood? Hickory, cherry, oak?
That looked like oak.
I prefer cherry.
Cherry. Want something really tangy sometime? Try mesquite. Try mesquite if you want something real tangy sometime.
Oh yeah.
There we go. I've started a trend. I got one person calling Rick a slacker now. Rick will eventually watch this live stream, so. Yeah, sun's up at 2 a.m. This is the only time of year I really like, because where I live, the sun comes up about, 5 o'clock in the morning at this time of year. You can get out there before all the crazies wake up and cause trouble. So it's nice and peaceful. I can sit on my deck and drink my coffee.
I've been threatening my wife for years to go to Alaska for a fishing trip.
Alaska, yeah. You can go to Great Slave Lake in northern Canada and catch the 30-pound pike or muskies. You might have to share it with a grizzly, of course, but. Oh, that's it. We've answered all the questions. We can retire now.
There are no questions left.
I have to keep looking back at my log to see what I actually did this week. Well, since last week. It's just been brutal. It's just like this week has been crazy. I spent a lot of time talking to customers, trying to convince them that what they want isn't practical. I had somebody who I've done a lot of work for, but he has very narrow boards. It's about, maybe 4 or 5 inches wide. And he wants to put a charcuterie handle on it. And I said, if I put a handle on that, it's going to be about a half an inch thick at the neck, because he wanted an elaborate handle. And I said, it's just going to break. So let's not do that. So his answer to that was, I trust you. Just go put something on the end of it. Like, oh boy. Well, we have bugs here. It is Canada. We don't have any poisonous snakes here, though. Not where I live, anyway.
I've always liked the snakes. I mean, most of them don't bother you.
Our big pest here is ticks. We have lots of ticks. We even have the Lone Star tick is starting to make its appearance here. That one is the one I fear most because it makes me allergic to red meat. No more steak. That would kill me.
Now the ticks here are the deer ticks carry Lyme disease.
Yeah, we got those too. Lots of them.
That's a problem around here.
One of our dogs got bit by one, literally at the end of my driveway. It wasn't a Lyme. This tick didn't have Lyme. It was a deer tick though. So my wife was a bit strung out for a while until the test came back. So,
well, you still have to be able to get to the edges. So, you pretty much got to have my. I have a Triton sander that would do that real well. But oscillating sander, put a small drum on it, some fine paper.
yeah, I wonder if you could just, once you cut them, put them back in the material and run some transfer tape over the back, sand the front, then run transfer tape over the front and sand the back. I don't know, it might work. It's a lot of taping, but I guess you could just use blue tape. Really, all you're trying to do is hold it in there until you can sand it a bit. Then you could sand them all at once. Yeah, riser pegs. That's the way to go. That's the first thing. Reduce the power, increase the speed, add some height to the workspace, add some height to the material. Eventually you'll get some. It depends on the laser too. I've seen some lasers that will make lots of smoke. The weak create's usually not too bad. The 40-watt we create is actually remarkable. It doesn't leave any smoke stuck to the material when you cut. I think it's just because they've got a pretty significant fan in there. Both the exhaust fan and the air assist fan are pretty.
The bed isn't really a honeycomb.
Yeah, it's rails. Yeah.
And I actually had a little problem with that once. Had a piece fall out, but it didn't fall all the way through. It just kind of stuck up. Then when the laser head came back, it hit it, and it moved everything.
Yeah. The trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had things like that happen. That was how I ended up getting the arm burn a while back. I was reaching into fix one of these problems. I wouldn't have normally done it, except this wasn't my material. It was a bunch of watch bands supplied by the customer. And I didn't really want to buy replacements, as it ruined 10 or 15 of them. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I wish I had time to watch people. I barely get my own stuff done.
Or
got a little Hawaiian beer there.
Oh,
I've had that. It's pretty
I've
good.
had that one. I was in Hawaii when I had it, but
I had forgot I was working on this other little project here. I'm not a big fan of doing like cutting board stuff, but it's hard to resist, when they're as popular as they are. So I've been making a bunch of blanks of same pattern, different dimensions. Focus.
you need to draw some eyes on your cutting boards.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So anyway, same pattern. It's birch and purple heart.
Well, that small one is more like a bar board, right?
Yeah, I was trying if I'm going to make like a little charcuterie tray out of it, or a bread board, or a couple of trivets. I'll make a little smaller pattern for like coasters. Just make a wide variety of things with the same pattern to increase set sales.
Yeah, you need to if you're doing woodworking, you need a series of projects that get progressively smaller, right? So you start making a table, and then you have all the scraps left over to make the chairs, and the scraps from those get turned into cutting boards, and so on down the line. And by the time you get to the end, you make somebody a keychain or something out of a piece of Purple Heart.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to throw anything out. A lot of the scraps that I have, I throw in a box, hardwood scraps. My brother makes turns pens, wooden pens. And a lot of the things that I look at and go, I'm never going to use this, I throw in the box, and sometimes he'll turn a pen out of them. That's the ultimate end of the road, because there's nothing left after that.
Sawdust.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking of, like a shot glass board.
Yeah, I've made some of those out like barrel staves. Take 2 or 3 staves, stick them together, and then part them into like 3 segments. Conveniently enough, a shot glass has the same hole size as a what are those little candles, the little
tea lights.
The little tea lights. So I was like, oh, I've got a market set up outside of church. Well, now it's a candle holder, and then outside the pub, it's a shot glass tray.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
dual use.
Cater to all. Yeah, there you go. That's the strategy, from table to rice.
Well, unfortunately, that's not necessarily linear. So you can't just like cut your power to 50% and make 2 passes. You're going to have to do a couple tests.
Yeah, it's always about material tests. That's of all the things you can learn in Lightburn, the most capable tool in Lightburn is material testing. It tells you everything about your laser and the material you're trying to work with. And I would say, if you do nothing else, become an expert in cutting material tests.
And record it. Write it down, right. Put it in the library, do something with it. Don't say, I can remember that. Because you won't.
All of the material tests I do for all the lasers in the shop, I have a big stack of, they're all cut from the same size material. I cut them all, they're all out of plywood, and I cut them all the same size. And I just have a stack of them, so that every time I come with a new 20-watt laser or something, I can go, oh, what was the last 20-watt laser I looked at? And I'll go and compare it.
Yep, I have the same thing. Yeah. 1/8-inch plywood. Then with we do a lot of tiles. So I've got a test pattern for every single laser. And then I just write on the back of the tile what laser it is. Yep. So I can go back to it later.
Yeah, it's always the best, especially when you need to know what settings you want to do. That is a question people ask a lot: is what settings do I use for this material? Well, run a material test, and then you don't ever have to ask again. Right? You can put it in a binder or something, and test and more tests.
Yeah, because materials are not all the same. For example, I was talking about these white tiles. If you go to a lumberyard we have here called Menards and buy white tiles, and then go to like Lowe's or Home Depot and buy white tiles and do the same process, are going to be different every time.
Yep. Yeah, I have for my CO2 laser, I have a thing. It's basically a long chain with little squares of all the materials that I work with. And I just flip through. It's like a little flip book, and flip through to get to the material I'm working with, and I know the settings. So periodically I'll rerun them, because materials change over time too. And like tiles, not all 1/8-inch plywood is the same. So when you're making your shop, if you're building out a new shop, leave a cabinet for just material tests, because you're going to have a lot of them. Oh, we're in the lull again. I got to remember to bring some projects that I work on here. they're all over in the shop, and I can't. I was a bit rushed tonight, so I didn't bring anything with me, but it's always something I've been meaning to do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to get done here for this next week, because Monday I have to drive a car from Illinois to Denver, Colorado, then fly back on Tuesday. Well, that'll shoot 2 days right there. Then I have to get ready for our big party here on Wednesday. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Send your address. We'll all show up.
You probably just kind of blend right in. We've had as many as 140 people here for this before. We try not to do that anymore. We like to keep it under 50.
I don't even know if I know 140 people anymore.
Well, I accused my one son of renting a school bus and filling it up with his friends on that one. We had teenagers everywhere.
I don't know that I would know 100 people, but I know that I would avoid them if I saw them.
Yeah, you sound a lot like me. I tend to be pretty antisocial, which is not really good in my business, but
I didn't choose IT just because I like computers. Speaking of, I've got my I've been promoted to a manager position a couple years ago, and I tend to, once a year I'll get my staff a little gift of some sort. One year I got them a flashlight, another year I got them one of those big stainless coffee cup things, because it's not like we don't slam coffee by the gallon. So this year I was thinking about making something for them, a phone stand or something.
Yeah.
So on my list of things to get around to.
So what's the problem?
Not doing it.
Hey,
that'd be a great idea if someone else would do it for me.
You're a manager now. You got to do these things.
Yeah.
The only thing I used to make for my team on a regular basis was cookies. Software developers will do anything for cookies.
Oh, there's an outdoor project. I have bought those before on Amazon. It's been probably a couple of years ago. I did some engraved leatherette patches. Make sure it's actual leather and not pleather. And then it's going to stink when you're engraving it.
Yes. Yeah, so keep a bucket close in case you feel the urge to, Yeah. Leather it depends. If it's PVC, which a lot of it is, you don't want to cut it. But there are laser safe leatherettes as well. You just have to make sure that you're using the right one. Yeah, lots of people. Well, I won't say lots of people. People make these badges for hats with lasers. But a lot of the ones I've seen are leather. And then they actually iron them on. They come sort of with the iron-on glue on the back of them.
Yeah, if you happen to have a hat press, I've done them before. It works really well when you have a hat press. It's a lot quicker than trying to use an iron and finding something flat to get up underneath that hat.
Yeah.
They work. It's not something that's really, really permanent, though. That glue tends to not last forever in the sun.
When the world went to social distancing. Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like, we're social distancing. What's the big deal? I was already doing that. I've become, since I stopped working a full-time job, I've become even more, I would say, antisocial. Antisocial is the wrong word. I'm just more comfortable at home. And every time I have to go into the city, it's like, I'll put it off for a couple of days or a week, and eventually I'll have to go. It's usually because I have to buy some material or something, and it's like, if I don't get this material, I'm not going to get paid. So I have to go into the city. It's a pain. I put about I think I think in 5 years I've put about 8,000 miles on my car, maybe. I'm sorry, I'm converting from metric to imperial, but not a lot. Every once in a while, I'll just get in my car and I'll go for a drive, just because it's like it's been parked for a month.
Yep, and I do the same thing. Even let's say you buy 5 sheets off the same stack. That doesn't necessarily mean they're all going to be identical.
Yeah. I've been trying to get some 1/8-inch plywood, hardware store plywood. Problem is, you go to the hardware store and it all looks terrible. It's like if it had any more waves in it, it would have white caps. Like, it's just so crooked. Like, it's just bad. So I've been going to my local hardware store for a few weeks now, and I've been looking at this pile of 1/8-inch plywood, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But it's such a bad pile. I'm not going to ever buy any of it. So I've been waiting. Hopefully the next batch they get, I can either get when they just cut the bindings, or it's a better batch to start with. But it's just a 4x8 sheet has about 6 waves in it from one end to the other. It's terrible.
Well, even when I go and pick it up and I try to get the flattest sheets I can, I cut it up into 16-inch squares almost right away. That's the size I work with. Then I stack them all up. You put a concrete block on top of them.
Yeah, once you cut them up small like that, they're probably relatively pretty flat anyway. But I can't. Most of the things I need 1/8-inch plywood for tends to be bigger sheets, like 2x4, 2x3 is probably not an unusual size for me. So, like 24 by 36 inches, because that's what fits on my CO2 laser.
And I've actually found on 1/4-inch plywood, if it's going to be painted, which most of my stuff is on 1/4-inch, I buy floor underlayment, because it tends to be very, very flat and have a solid core.
Yeah.
There's no hollows in it.
Yeah, it's typically mahogany or something on the outside too, right?
Yeah, Luan on one side, and then the other side's got a whole bunch of little blue X's that show you where to put the nails. Hence it gets painted.
Yes, that's the side you paint. Yeah, you can definitely save money on hardware store materials, but you got to hunt a little harder, and you have to look after them a little more than laser grade things. It's one of the reasons I work with acrylic so much. You can leave it in the sun and it won't warp. It stays nice and straight. I spent quite a bit of time this week engraving a photo. A photo that was taken in probably 1958. It's like an anniversary photo, and I have to engrave it on a piece of acrylic. And still, it has to be at least as good as the original. Well, a 1958 photo is black and white. It's mostly out of focus. It's just it's like this size because it came off of a Polaroid camera. But I spent quite a bit of time before I got it where I was happy. And what I noticed is I have two pieces of satin finish acrylic that are black, and I engrave on one of them, and a black and white photo comes out with kind of a blue hue to it. Things that are white tend to be kind of a light blue, but the other one is fine. And I spent a long time going, how do I make this whiter? Like, it's just not right. So just almost by accident, I tried the other piece of satin acrylic, and it was like, this is a miracle. Like, this is so much better. So but I did get it working, which is, 6 or 7 hours of my time I won't get back. But as they say, we learn from our mistakes, which by definition means I should be the smartest person ever. Sadly, no.
Yeah, it got quiet again here.
Yeah. All the Europeans are gone to bed, or they're getting up for their morning shift. Fortunately, we got a guy from Hawaii. It's still lunch. It's still breakfast for him or something, right?
Lunchtime, maybe?
Yeah, I think yeah, the challenge in places like Hawaii, which is also the problem I have here, is it's probably humid, and hardware stores don't have environmentally controlled warehouses for their wood. So anything that is thin warps like crazy. Combine that with the heat of the typical day in Hawaii, and you have the perfect press for making curved things.
I uncurved a board. It was one of the 100 degrees outside, 90% humidity. I took one of my boards that developed a lot of cupping and warping, and clamped it to some angle iron and put it outside for about an hour. Brought it inside and let it hang out and straighten it right back up.
See, I replicate that with internally with a spray bottle and a heat gun. Your way sounds much easier. Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, it's like I don't need to build a steamer box. I have the outside.
Yeah. Anyway, 1/8-inch plywood is my challenge. It's a lot of places don't carry it because not many people use 1/8-inch plywood for anything. But like here, Home Depot doesn't have 1/8-inch plywood, and it's like, what is wrong with you people? Like,
they have a big stack of it here. I'm not a big fan of Home Depot, but that is one thing I buy there.
Yeah, I go to their competition who does have 1/8-inch plywood. So,
okay, the Nicky White tile test, that's something you can Google and you'll find that file somewhere. A Lightburn file for it, just load it in. And what you will do is clean your tile off real well. And you're probably not going to have titanium dioxide and alcohol and all that. So just get some satin white Rust-Oleum paint, do 2 light coats on it, let it dry overnight, and run that test on it. Now, I will say, if you have like a 40-watt laser, that test isn't going to work too well. Because when that was originally made, it was made for like 5 and 10 watt lasers. I've used it up to a 20 watt, no problem. But once you get above 20 watts, you're going to have to start cutting some power down or increasing speeds.
What did I make this week that made me smile? Money. That's like it's been so. It's just been. I haven't actually had time to enjoy making something this week, which bothers me a bit. But it is summer, so.
Well, I got to pull out my little pontoon flag again because that made me smile after I designed it for my Jolly Roger pontoon boat. This is just sample size here. It's going to be much bigger. That's my flag design for our boat. That made me smile when I pulled that off the press.
You don't have any hesitancy of flying a pirate flag on?
Mostly just to tick off the DNR and the Coast Guard out on the river.
Do they actually care?
They'll get a chuckle out of it. A lot of people that run up and down the river are flying pirate flags.
$60 for a 4x8 sheet. That sounds like you're shopping in Canada.
Ah, that's cheaper than you get it here.
Is it?
Yeah. A 4x8 sheet of construction grade. Well, I'm thinking 3/4. 3/4 is $80 to $90. Half inch is 60,
Wow.
50 to $60.
That's way more expensive than I would pay for it.
Say 3/4 inch BC, or I should say AC cabinet plywood right now is about $60 a sheet. That's for 3/4 AC.
Yeah. This is Home Depot plywood at its finest. Construction grade.
Yeah, you generally want good two sides or at least one side when you're doing laser engraving, but
yeah.
So tends to be cabinet kind of plywood.
Yeah.
At least 3/4 inch anyway. What I have noticed is plywood that has oak veneer on one side is the same price as the regular old construction grade stuff. So you might as well buy the oak even if you're or maple even if you're just gonna cut it up into little pieces. Because who knows, you might have to make a box with a nice finish on the outside. Are you gonna wear an eye patch when you're cruising the river?
I'm gonna get me a hat.
The black pirate hat?
No, more like the Captain Jack Sparrow hat. I always like that.
It's like 3 corners of leather.
Yeah, it's 3-cornered.
Was that tricorns?
I don't know if I'll braid my hair though. It's a little hard to do that.
The knee-high boots might be a bit much too. So, any more questions? You got any videos coming up this week, Roger, or next week?
I haven't had time to make any. The last one I had time to do was our hot tub enclosure. I literally have not had time to shoot any video at all.
Oh, you're not going to post a video of you sitting in the hot tub?
My wife
in one hand.
My wife asked me if I was going to do that, and I said, "Well, it's not beyond what I would do. I've done put video up before of me sitting on the beach of Mexico." So,
oh, what else are you going to do when you're sitting on the beach in Mexico? Shoot a bunch of selfie video, right? I ordered a new camera. So I've been shooting any of my B-roll stuff in my shop on my iPhone, and it's sometimes a challenge. So I ordered an Osmo 3, the new one. Unfortunately, it's going to take like 8 weeks to get to me. These things, I think they either underestimated the demand or they're trying to create a demand because there isn't too many of them around. So hopefully it makes shooting B-roll easier because it's got built-in gimbal and everything too, right? So it's a good project that's easy to do.
Anything on Amazon cardboard?
Yeah, if you're talking about material, you can make a cardboard birdhouse, but the birds will be a little unhappy. I guess if you live in Arizona, they probably wouldn't notice, but
well, this is a good little hint for anybody just starting out and you want to just practice making some stuff or engraving or cutting or whatever. Use a box the laser came in. Just cut it up, engrave it, play with it. Doesn't cost you anything. And then once you got some skills in your back pocket, you can move on to real materials.
And hope you don't have to ship your laser back.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you order things from Amazon, use the Amazon boxes. Good projects. Well, if it depends. So it depends what your goal is. If your goal is to make projects that kind of get you into a side hustle, like some kind of business, um, those would be different projects um, than if you're just like a hobbyist. If you're a hobbyist and have kids, make a spirograph, make uh, toys. There's lots of toys you can make doing laser cutting. If you are doing business, you can. It depends. If you do craft fair kind of business, you can make keychains and coasters because you got a kind of a captive market at a craft fair. Although these days, if you have a bunch of laser material or laser projects taking to a craft fair, guaranteed you're not the only one anymore. There's lots of people.
Another thing you can make are small signs.
Yep.
One of my favorite things to use are cedar fence pickets, and I still got that one up here from last week. And they don't have to be real big. And this is actually for a crystal shop here. I make these for. But you could put anything on there you want, design anything you want, and they're quick and easy to make.
Go to the dollar store and buy their really cheap cutting boards. They're bamboo. That engraves really nicely.
Yeah, they're only $1.25. So.
Yeah, they're like a couple bucks tops, and you can sell them. You can engrave them and sell them. What I've done with them is engrave like a bunch of conversions on them, like volume conversions. You can do that.
There's the guy that I get my birch from. He gets scrap wood from a number of guys that do like cutting boards and stuff, and he takes all the offcuts, cuts them into thin stock, and takes the little pieces and makes like earrings out of them.
Yep.
Wire stuff. So he just cuts them into interesting shapes.
Yeah, and that's I've been meaning to make that video too, right? Because if you want to pay for your laser quick, make earrings, right? Like make jewelry.
Yeah.
Because the material is cheap or free in a lot of cases because you're using scrap that no one else cares about. Most people will put it in a fire. And so your overhead costs are almost nothing, whatever you need to mount, like an earring mount.
Yeah, the little hoop stuff.
Yeah, and you can sell them for dollars, right? It can be anywhere from like $2 to $10, whatever. The point is, it costs you nothing, and any money you make on it is profit. So you'll pay for your laser pretty quick if that's what you want to do. And that's a craft fair kind of job, right? So you go out on a weekend and sell those things at craft fairs, and you'll sell them because they're cheap, and people don't have any hesitation on spending the kind of money it takes to buy a set of earrings at a craft fair. So you can usually come home without having to repack your car with all the things you brought.
Another thing are coaster holders, laser cut, and coasters for all that matter.
Yeah, there you go.
That's real good at craft fairs.
And now Richard wants everybody to make food picks. We don't want to start any economic wars on this live stream. At least don't go to Alaska and make food picks. The market's cornered there.
Oh, that was Delanne. She's from Alaska. She's in Delanne.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're making so the thing with corporate stuff, like if I make anything volume, it's usually for a company because they don't complain about the price, and they will generally take a lot. So you have pretty high margins anyway. And it's pretty easy work, all things considered. They don't come back and nitpick about, oh, this thing is, out by 1/10 of a millimeter or something. They just don't complain about that. So if you can get corporate business, that's the way to go. So think real estate agents, lawyers, companies. Lots of companies do all kinds of things for employees too, right? So you just need to find the right person to target.
Yeah, real estate agents are big on keychains.
Yep, and cutting boards. I've done some of those because everybody wants to walk into their brand new house and have their name engraved on a cutting board sitting on the island in the kitchen, right? With the real estate agent's logo on the side of it, of course. Yep. And you can buy like all the materials. If you just want to start out, you can buy all of the materials for this on Amazon. When you decide that you're successful and you're getting bigger, you can buy them for half the price on AliExpress. And
just stay away from Temu.
Yeah, Temu. They keep bugging me.
Yeah, I keep getting it too.
They really want to send me a box full of things and say, have me talk about what's on Temu. But everybody I know who's ever purchased anything on Temu hates their purchase at some level. Temu is like the cheapest of the cheap, right? It's not good stuff.
It's all the same stuff that the cheap Amazon vendors make. I mean, it's all sourced out of was it Alibaba?
Yeah.
And it's just the cheapest stuff they can send over by the thousand and then distribute it. Yeah, most of it's crap. Yeah. Some of it is the same stuff that everybody uses. It's yellow or it's blue or it's green.
You have to pick and choose for sure. Farmers markets is a good place to sell things.
Yeah, especially if it's a farmer's market that restricts it to either homemade or homegrown, where you can't be just like buying crap from Temu and selling it at the farmer's market. Most of the farmers markets here are restrictive that way.
Yeah, I think people are kind of onto that game too, right? Like you can take something like an X-Tool F1 to a farmer's market and do personalization of some crap from Temu, but people are kind of aware of what's happening there. So you're better to make things yourself. You won't sell as many necessarily because they'll cost more, but the people who want to pay more are paying more for a reason, and it's usually quality. I did get in a bit of trouble. At one point in the past, I said to people, I don't make stuff for people who shop at Walmart. And it wasn't a slam on people who shop at Walmart. It's just a different market. They're after price, and I'm not after price. I'm after quality. So if somebody buys something from me, they're going to pay more, but if anything ever happens to it, I'll replace it, and it's probably better. Well, it is better to start with. But when I said that, somebody thought I was dissing people who shop at Walmart. It's like, no, they're just a different market. Those are the people you sell coasters to, because you can't make a whole lot of money on coasters either.
Well, even if, let's say you're selling stuff on Etsy and you're selling stuff on eBay, there's a different class of shoppers on Etsy than there is on eBay. And we found that out over the years. Stuff on eBay, they'll be coming back, well, I'll give you $0.25 for it. Well, you don't get that kind of stuff on Etsy.
Yeah.
Because it seems like people that are shopping on eBay think it's a yard sale.
Well, it's an auction site, right?
Yeah.
I'll open the bid at $0.25 for your $100 item. Yeah, it's I think the message there is know where you're selling things and why you're selling in that place. Like Facebook Marketplace is the same, right? Like I won't sell anything on Facebook Marketplace, but I do know people who are in I'll say the maker business, similar things, and they do sell lots of things on Facebook Marketplace. But I don't know. It just seems to be a place where like serial killers go to buy stuff. I don't know. It's just
Hey, now I've bought several things off of Marketplace.
I use Marketplace to sell things when it's something I just want to get rid of. Like we had to replace our TV a couple of years ago. Now I got this great big flat screen TV that doesn't work. Well, one option would be to put it back in the box, sit on the front porch, and see if a porch pirate steal it. But I put it on Facebook Marketplace for $5, and guy come and bought it.
yeah,
and I got rid of it.
Yeah, if that's that's you identified the market where that thing will sell, right? And
yeah,
and but like I've seen people who put, like, I'd say a high quality something like a cutting board on Facebook Marketplace, and they'll say I want $100 for it or whatever, and someone will say, well, will you take 20? Well, no, right? It's 100. So if you have to keep having that conversation, that's not the right place to sell stuff,
right?
And I like to complain about the overhead of Etsy, the cost of Etsy listings, but they bring in a lot of people because people know what Etsy's about, right? They tend to be people who are looking for something that they could easily go and buy at a department store, but they want something unique or something high quality, and they go to Etsy for that, and they know they're going to pay more. So I don't know. I've done okay on some Etsy stuff. I don't really push it there, but just because anything I would sell on Etsy becomes a volume item, and I really don't do that. So.
Well, Amazon is another market if you are prepared to be able to have the inventory to back it up. We do sell on Amazon, not craft items, but horticultural items. But we have the inventory to back it up because you can get hit with, okay, somebody might buy one this week, and maybe a few days later, someone buy one. Next thing you know, you got 150 orders, all for the same thing, all in a short period of time. You have to be able to have the inventory to back that up if you're going to do on Amazon.
Yeah, because they want 2-day delivery on everything, right?
Yeah, I want it tomorrow.
Well, I set that. Ours is 5-day. I have 5 days to ship it because those being perishable items, we only ship those on Monday or Tuesday to make sure they get there for a weekend. And people understand that. Yeah. But the downside to Amazon is you can return anything on Amazon for any reason. And we've had that happen a few times. In fact, we had one, I think I may have brought it up before. They bought a whole bunch of flowering cork plants, used them at a wedding reception, then returned them all. Didn't even take decorations off of them.
That's pretty low, actually.
Yeah.
You did mention that, and I thought, like, how bad can people be?
And we've had people send us back, a box of rocks. But Amazon will back you up on that. If somebody sends you not what they were supposed to, you take a picture of it, report it to Amazon, you won't get charged for it.
I don't know. It just seems like, well, I don't want 100 orders of something, for one thing, right? It's just, I had to make these Dungeons and Dragons player boxes that I make. I had to make 4 of them this past week, and that just about killed me. It's like four at once, because those I'll keep maybe 1 or 2 just stored up, but not. I had to make 4 that were identical, and it's just I don't know. I don't know how people do volume stuff. It It's just not my mojo.
Okay, your neck right there. I just replied to this in the comments. Yes, I do. And it's on moonshinecrafts.com. That's the next comment,
which we'll post right now. Moonshine Crafts. Do you get a lot of calls from police officials?
There's a kind of a funny story behind this, because our biggest e-commerce business here is Moonshine Designs Nursery. That's our big plant business here. And when we applied for our FEIN number with the government, moon and shine were two different words, separate words. Well, they didn't do that. They made it moonshine as in one word, and it was such a big hassle to try to get it changed. We just kept it. So, and we've had a lot of jokes over it. And as far as the Moonshine Crafts, we do occasionally get emails about making moonshine.
Awesome.
And I actually do know how to do that, but that's not something we sell. I know how to do corn squeezins and potato squeezins. So.
We're down about 4 minutes.
I worked with a bunch of guys back in the 90s from Tennessee. They taught me how to make them corn squeezins and potato squeezins.
Yeah. I don't know what to say.
A little bit of amylase.
I tell you what, it's not smooth.
No. See, the thing here where I live, if you had a still in your backyard, you'd go to prison for like, I don't know, 5 years minimum. But you can grow pot plants all you want. Well, you can grow, I think, 5 or 10 or something. It's some crazy number for personal consumption.
Your pot plant isn't potentially going to explode.
Right, but you won't get arrested either because it's legal here.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. Yeah,
I don't know. I've been thinking of
the biggest issue.
I've been thinking of renting out a plot of my land for somebody who wants to grow more than their allotted amount, and I'm sure I can make a little money out of that.
Well, here in Illinois, if you go to certain bars, and my wife and I just saw this today, we were at a bar and restaurant. There's a drink called Smile. Comes in a can. It's got 20 milligrams of THC in it. And they say it keeps you hydrated.
It's a drinkable edible?
I guess you just drink it. I got too much stuff to do. I can't be doing that stuff.
Yeah.
You lose a whole weekend.
I'm too old for that nonsense. All right. Any last minute questions before we call it quits? And remember, I think everybody should send a message to Rick and call him a slacker.
Yeah.
Send him an email. Fill his email box with just slacker. It's just one word. I'm sure he's working hard. There you go. Ham's beer.
Hams.
Oh, tonight I'm drinking water, though. I'm getting hydrated myself here.
I always forget to bring something. I mean, the kitchen is like just down the other end of the house for me. So if I was really thirsty, I'd go get something. But I always forget to bring something to start. It's always such a rush for me to get ready for this live stream every week. Thanks for coming out, Clayton. Hopefully we see you again. Yeah, I do sell a lot of these vegetable steaks. Not so much these days. But even the ones I sell tend to be custom. It's like, I have somebody who sells tomatoes, and I make steaks for every kind of tomato he sells. But I haven't really done a whole lot of those this year. It's just I've been too busy, and those are good though because you can make them out of just scrap acrylic. the leftovers, unless you have to make 100 like I do sometimes. Person turquoise waving speech. Oh, it's a yes. Okay. Apparently emojis don't work their way through the system here on our live stream.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, David. I love what I do too. It means I don't have to get up and have a boss. I frustrate my wife though, because she says I'm not focused. It's like, well, I don't have to be focused anymore. I can work on this and then I can go work on that. Pets. People pay crazy money for stuff for pets. There's the average person who just has a dog, and then there's people, I'll say like my wife, who has a prince. And there's like, money's no object for those people. So you can make if you have a market for pet stuff, you can make money.
Well, I was surprised here not too long ago. I heard on the radio you could buy health insurance for your pet.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course, it's like health insurance for anything, right? If you use it, then it gets harder to get. They really just want your money. They don't want to have to deal with you.
Yeah. And in a lot of cases, it's a subscription service. It's, you get the health insurance, but that's contingent upon you taking them in for checkups and all that, that other thing.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to maintain.
It's like the car warranty, right? You got to take your dog in for oil changes on a regular basis.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to have to deal with like a pre-existing condition my dog might have. The nice thing about living here is I don't have to worry about that for me, so I don't want to have to worry about it for the dog. Oh, one more question here. Setting for
Oh, that photo on white tile, that's a can of worms there.
Yeah. That's tough. You can do it, but it's a lot of work. You're better to start from a piece of plywood painted white. The problem with anything painted, though, is it becomes a binary sort of engraving. It's either black or white. So you can't really get good grayscale. But if you're prepared to dither an image, I would just paint a piece of plywood. It's easier and cheaper. Well, it's probably not cheaper than a tile, I guess, but.
Well, we'll be glad to see you.
Yeah.
I'll be out next week.
We'll live vicariously for your presence in Hawaii. You can join us and we'll broadcast.
Wish we were there.
Picture of the beach or something.
Of course, I won't be here next week, but I will be here the week after.
Oh yeah, you're off celebrating your July 4th.
Yeah.
July 1st is Canada Day. We got there 4 days before you did, or 3 days. But
our July 3rd is like the July 4th Eve big party here. So, well, yeah. I guess our time's about run out here. So I'll bid goodbye to everybody.
As will I.
And I'll see you in 2 weeks.
I will see you next week, assuming I didn't get COVID from my wife.
Yeah. Tell Ricky's a slacker, otherwise we might not even have a show next week.
Yeah. Oh, you're not here either, right?
Nope.
All right. Take care.
Hold down the fort. Later on.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.